Untamed is going to be untamed. It's going to be a little crazy. I want to talk to my people. I want to talk to my brothers and sisters. We can have grace and humility in how we interact with other people.
Oh, hot dog, look at you.
And nobody talked about what's really happening.
And let's have conversations about what truth is.
Good afternoon. It's Tuesday. And we're going to talk about what's happening with gold today. And we'll talk about the chaos, and we'll talk about Kardashian Patel. But there is quite a bit that we've got to get through today. And I thought it was going to be a slow news day. I was like, well, I think that we'll be able to talk to Vince, and he'll have great insight over the fact that he was right. They didn't lower rates but a quarter point. I'm sure he's really happy with that. I still think that if we don't lower rates, we're still in trouble, meaning we're headed towards an economic collapse. So I don't know what his thoughts are on that, but we're going to get his thoughts. Everywhere we turn, it feels as if it's institutional. That lying to the people is the way that everything has to go in the government. We're drowning. We are literally drowning in corruption. And I got a chance to watch some of the shows from some other podcasters, and I just wanted to spend some time going through what their thoughts were. And I came to the conclusion that podcasting today is about gotchas. Like all the gotcha moments. Oh, look, I gotcha. Tim Cass, gotcha. The guy for the comedians, and hey, go over to the UK and crack jokes about Muslims and Muhammad. See what happens to you. He says, I'll pay you $10,000. And I don't have against him at all. Matter of fact, sometimes he has his points and sometimes he doesn't. And then you see Tucker Carlson put out a video about 9/11, and now that there's been some declassification of some of that they could have stopped what happened on 9/11, but they didn't. And we look at what has been happening with the FBI over the last decade, let's say, and you can't help, or even look at politics and the fact that nothing is sacred anymore. See, in government, it used to be that loose lips sink ships, and you would have a certain code that you didn't, move outside the circle. Now it's turned into just an endless smoke and mirrors when it comes to answering any questions. Assassination attempts are a daily occurrence. And you have leaked documents, you have the Epstein files, you look at all the things, the weaponization of agencies, what judges are doing, political chaos. And I think most citizens say to themselves, what gives? There has to be something to this. There has to be something. You can't look at this and go, you know what? I think that everything's great. We're going to get James Comey, and that's going to be the end of it. The thirst that people have for corruption is unquenchable right now. And it looks as if it doesn't matter if it's an R or a D. I think President Trump, one of the things I appreciate most about him is that he was wealthy and did well before he got into office. You can't say that pretty much about anybody else that got into office. You talk about the Bushes being oil men and things like that. No, they weren't. They were CIA. George Bush Sr. was CIA. You look at Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton was a politician. He was a career politician. The last time we had somebody besides President Trump in office that had accomplished something great in their life, it wasn't riding the coattails of the previous generation that came before them or some sort of CIA honeypot. It was Ronald Reagan. And if you go back before that, Jimmy Carter, lifetime politician, not much of a guy that had any sort of substance. You look past that, you have guys that were for the CIA, you have guys that were a lifetime in the establishment government. And the only times in history that we've done well of late related to kind of turning the economy around, doing things that are good for tightening the belt and giving back some sort of semblance of accountability has been with Ronald Reagan and Donald J. Trump. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. Then we're going to bring in Vince Lanci. He's been here. He's been on several times. I've been trying to get him on. I wanted to get him on last week. And we're going to talk about the gold and silver market. He's a finance professor, founder of Echobay Partners, 30 years experience navigating commodities, global markets, and U.S. economic turbulence. He was right when we had the conversation a couple of weeks ago. We're going to talk about the U.S. economy, what's happening with BRICS. We're going to talk about the things going on with inflation pressures, how our debt is now spiraling past $34 trillion. We shut down the economy, which I think was probably the safest thing that could have been done for our government, because at least no more damage can be done in the short term. And we're going to talk about what is driving economic signals with investors and what it means for how you can protect your wealth going past 2025. Because frankly, I don't see, if we're not invested in silver and gold, then I don't know. Just don't know. I don't know. I question everything else that's going on in our stock market, at least. So let's start off here if we can. So Kyle Seraphin, who's probably one of my favorite people, only because he puts up with zero. He's being sued right now by Kardashian Patel's girlfriend. And he had this post to say, he says, multiple FBI sources reported uneasy about FBI Director Patel's girlfriend, Alexis Wilkins, receiving a security detail. Agents have been concerned the security detail is outside the scope of duty and likely an abuse of government resources by Director Patel. Interesting. He goes on to put this video up. I got to put this video. Let's go ahead and play this video. This is Cash Patel calling himself, I don't know. This is cosplay or something? What's going on? Let's go.
Hey guys, look at me. I'm a badass.
I actually think that was on Cash Patel's X-File. And then FBI Cash Patel fired a trainee for displaying a gay pride flag on his desk, calling it political signage. This is as of MSNBC. I don't really care about a trainee. And, yesterday we had Professor David Clements on, and we talked about what could possibly be happening. And President Trump, when asked whether or not he would invoke the Insurrection Act, said, I would. If people are dying, I would. So I just want to say this to President Trump and to his cabinet, the good ones on the cabinet. People are dying. Millions of people died during the COVID-19 scamdemic, hooking them up to ventilators, taking away prophylactics like ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine while the media stepped in and said, you're not allowed to do it. It had no ill effects. And then they lied and said that people were getting overdosing on ivermectin, which is absolutely not true, nearly impossible. You'd have to literally, I think, drink a gallon of it for that to happen. But people are dying. They have declared war on us. And what you have now is you have police departments that are actively committing sedition. You have mayors, like the one in Chicago, committing sedition, treason against the country. So I don't know what else you need. What else do you need? You have density and judges that literally take away the will of the American people and treat them like slaves. That's what really is happening. I want to play this. This is someone witnessing, I think it's Ben, witnessing Portland PD giving advice to Antifa terrorists on how to avoid being put in jail. Let's go and play it.
granted.
It's okay. It's all right.
Okay, if you don't want to listen, real quick. We're trying something else real quick. So the judge granted the TRO.
I'm the one who got stabbed in 2020 by you guys.
I hope he gets stabbed again.
Yeah. You ain't got the balls to do it, though.
That's a death
You ain't got the balls to do it.
That's a death threat.
You ain't got the balls to do it, so keep yapping your mouth,
like a
okay?
That's a death threat. Why don't you go
It's
arrest
going to be
me?
harder for the judge or
You arrest me for protesting in the street.
hey, we have a good reason why we actually need them. So that's why we're asking people to get out of the street.
Yes, sir, to get out of the street.
They could arrest you, but we're asking you guys voluntarily, let's just get on the sidewalks. Because if a car comes through and hits somebody, it's a better way for the government to say we need defense.
And we do definitely need the feds. We definitely need the feds in here. Because your mayor is terrible. It's giving you terrible orders. You guys should be able to work with ICE. You should be able to work with ICE.
What's interesting about this is that the police are actually on the side of these diabolical maniacs. I just don't understand. I don't understand how anybody could even negotiate with this. How is this even a real thing? How is it that we are so, we've devolved to a place where high school trash is the thing that rules the day in our society, where people get on the street and they cosplay and they cover up their face and talk about the fact that they hope that they are stabbed again. I don't get it. I don't get it how this is even a normal society. It's devolved to a place where it's lawless, where the only people that are held accountable are the people that's doing the right thing. And I told you about, we're gonna do an entire story on someone inside of Portland that was sentenced to over 11 years in prison for standing up against Antifa. Not one person in Antifa has seen 1 day in jail. Not 1 day in jail. So here's an article, by the way, that Biden didn't want intel disseminated showing Ukrainian concerns over family corrupt business ties. So we can just talk about over and over and over again the serious amount of evidence that exists. Vice President Joe Biden in 2015 told the CIA he would strongly prefer an intelligence report documenting Ukrainian officials' concern with the family ties to corrupt business deals in the country not be disseminated. And so it wasn't. So now Joe Biden in 2015 got to basically say to the CIA, hey, don't tell anyone that we have corrupt business deals. CIA Director John Ratcliffe declassified the heavily redacted records, which he said he believes is an example of politicization of intelligence. No, it's not politicization. It is sedition. Let's stop calling it something it's not. You committed sedition. The CIA has committed sedition. People in the USAID committed sedition, treason against the country. I don't actually even know. The more that I actually look under the hood and try to figure out what people actually did, they said, oh, you don't have any evidence, while saying you can't have access to it, while telling us the safest, most secure election in U.S. history, which we know it wasn't. And for 4 years, we had to deal with this. How many Americans that we don't even know about are sitting in jail right now? So before we actually go and talk to Vince, which is going to be a lively conversation, it'll be amazing to have him back on again. I want to tell you again that you keep missing out. You keep missing out on gold. You don't have to switch over your IRA, although I recommend it. But gold right now, I think, is almost at 4,000. Almost. Gold price today. Gold price today is at $4,004 an ounce right now. It's up nearly 38% since the beginning of the year, since we actually started talking to you about buying gold. 35%, which means if you had $1,000, now you have $1,350. If you bought it at the $2,800, you'd now have $4,000 in addition for 1 ounce of gold. And that's not the only thing. If you look at silver price today, it is just as high. It's at $47.56. If you go back 6 months, that's a 60% increase. 6 months ago, it was $29 an ounce. Right now, it is $47.56 an ounce. If you go back a year, you start seeing that the volatility started to end, and then all of a sudden, it started to shoot up. There's a lot of people that are investing in silver right now. It's up 60% in the last 6 months. So go to untamedgold.com, call 844-960-4653. use this as an opportunity. We're going to talk a little bit about this today. But if you're going to put any money, even if it's a couple $100, go put it in silver and continue to every month to put what you can into silver and gold. Anyway, that's my advice to you. With that said, I'm not going to waste any more time. I want to bring Vince in, and just so you know, we've had some great conversations, but he's been a powerhouse in commodities. We're known for being able to spot China's pivotal role in gold pricing. And so with all of that, he has, by the way, I want to talk about a Substack real quick because I read it every time it comes out. That's vblgoldfix.substack.com. That's vblgoldfix.substack.com. Vince, welcome to the show. You there? Almost there.
You hear me?
I hear you. How are you doing?
Good. Am I on? Are we on?
You're
Are we
on.
the air?
You're on the air and you're on.
Oh shit. Okay. let me act like an adult. All right. Yes. I'm with you. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Always good to have you on.
Great to be here.
I need to get you a hat. It's going to be say,
yeah.
Vera,
I'll do that.
Vince is right again.
No. Don't start that. Don't start that shit. But if you want to talk about the 25 basis points versus 50 basis points, you're either right now or you're right later, because he has to keep cutting. Or if not him, then his successor. And that's the situation that we're in. So you can't account for his own concern about his legacy and his own stubbornness. So maybe he's not going to cut, but in 6 months, someone will.
Do you think he's out?
Yeah, I think. I mean, do I think he'll cut again? I think he's got one in his pocket to go, and I think the shutdown locks it in. I'd like it to be 50 basis points, to your points, but it seems like he's ignoring the part of the economy that's bad and focused on the stock market. So he could rationalize not cutting again. Look, Trump just put in Stephen Moran, right? Miran, Moran. And Stephen is very dovish, and he's now getting a lot more airtime. And he's basically an outlier in the group. So if everyone is moderate to dovish, he's dovish to super dovish. And He's got Trump's economic plan in mind. And he's going to bring the whole Fed committee further to the dovish side. But maybe Powell's just holding on for dear life for the next 6 months. I don't know. But the shutdown means another 25 basis points are coming, period. That's what I think. And it should be 50 if you're looking at it from the point of view that you're looking at it from. And just to if I can just be so bold as to paraphrase you, you're looking at people that are falling behind on bills. And that's happening. And the economy is a lot slower. And I think what's happening is the economy is a lot slower, but Powell's looking at the money that the federal government is spending, the fiscal side. And so he's, washing his hands of it, so to speak. But I think that's going to be some big trouble coming from that. And I think that trouble is going to come from it's going to come from the fact that what Trump is doing is spending, right? Love it or hate it. He's spending, but it's going to be throttled to get in, and there's going to be a liquidity crisis. And I think Powell's going to cut 25 basis points and keep another 50 basis points in his pocket to deal with the crisis. I think he's a little bit embarrassed about his performance in the last 2 years. So he's being stubborn.
Okay. So let's hypothetically say that he cuts it another quarter point. You think it saves us from a downturn, a significant downturn going into Q4?
Well, I mean, you're looking at a downturn of the economy. He's looking at a downturn of the stock market. So the stock market's in bubble territory.
Yeah.
So, unemployment's going to uptick, let's assume, right? Is he going to cut? No, he won't cut unless the stock market craters. And why won't the stock market crater? Because they're buying it. The plunge protection team operates that way to stabilize the market. I think if he cuts more, I mean, I don't have a strong opinion on the next cut, but it seems to me that 25 basis points, maybe 50 are going to come. But after that, I don't know. And I have a feeling that if he has to cut 50, it's going to be something like Japan that's going to pull him over the edge, because Japan's stressing out right now and everyone else is debasing. So we may have to cut rates to rescue Japan. Let's put it that way, as weird as that is.
So you think that Japan is sitting on a larger bubble than it is in the United States, or do you think that the markets are tied together, or is it? Tell me why. Tell me why you think we have.
Okay, yeah. So
because I'm
I
not
mean,
sure
it goes
people
back to
know the correlation between the two.
it goes back to the spending part. It starts with the spending part. Everyone in the world, let's look at the world as three regions. Let's look at it as Europe, US, and Japan. Forget the BRICS at this moment, although they are the reason that we're moving in this direction. Europe has to spend on its own defense. The US has to spend on its own manufacturing rebuilding. Japan had, relatively speaking, resisted the extra spending, the ramping up of spending on itself. Now, the prime minister election was just over, and a conservative, I don't know what conservative is out there, but a surprise happened, and that surprise is going to bring in a person who's going to spend more, even though they're conservative. They're going to spend on home, kind of like what Trump's done. And as a result of that, Japanese bond yields started to explode. Japanese currency, the yen, started to collapse, and Japanese stocks went to the moon. So what's going on there is that within Japan, and outsiders like ourselves who invest in Japan are saying, oh shit, they need to make their currency weaker and let inflation float higher. And in order to do that, that means the only thing to buy if you're in Japan is gold or stocks, which is, there's a lot of, like, there's four dimensions going on here right now. But the Japan thing is just like, it's another huge geopolitical domino. They're joining the crowd saying our currency is going to go down. We're going to hide the inflation. We're going to let rates go up, and we're going to spend as much money as we can print. And the market, but Sunday night, reacted to that. And when it reacted to that, the stock market went up in Japan, which is how you would see inflation manifest until it becomes hyperinflation. The yen collapsed, right? So that everyone's pulling their money out of yen. But gold went up. And it went up despite a strong dollar, because the Japanese used to take the money out of yen and put it into dollars, but now they're taking the money out of yen and putting some of it into gold and silver as well. And that's starting the domino effect. So Europe eased, Japan's going to ease, UK had a crisis, Germany's going to have one next, France is in collapse governmentally.
Yeah, but France has been in a collapse for almost a decade.
I know. It seems to be like
it's like they're falling in slow motion as Macron's wife actually shows her penis.
We're just, I think we're just hopeful, No, it's I think, with regards to European countries like France and Italy 5 years ago, they get a new government every year. So what's the point? But I think France has got some problems now, and the problems have to do with how they govern. Neo-Keynesians are being thrown by the wayside now. But the point about Japan is, and this is what kind of screws Powell if he wants to cut. Japan will weaken its currency will weaken, and then at some point they will have to come in and support it. And when they support it, they'll do that by selling assets overseas, U.S. Treasuries. So U.S. Treasuries take a dive. Simultaneously, the Fed's going to say, I need to cut because they need dollars over there. And then he's going to say, well, I need to hike because they keep, selling U.S. Treasuries. So Powell needs to cut when that happens. But it'll just end up creating, the domino will come around. Europe cut, Japan cuts, and now the U.S. has to cut. So it's what it is? It's a race to the bottom. That's what it is. All the currencies are racing to the bottom. And gold and silver are smelling that. And Bitcoin's even beginning to smell that now. I don't know how you feel about Bitcoin, but everyone's looking for things to put their money in that are not paper. So
I mean, Bitcoin, I think it hit a new all-time high or close to
it did.
At 125, I believe, or 126,
Yep.
and then retracted to 122.
Right.
And so there's stuff like Solana coin and things like that, Ethereum, that are through the roof.
Ethereum's through the roof, right? Yeah.
And so yeah, I agree with you. I don't know if I'd want to put my money in something that has no value. And coins.
Oh, no. I mean, I'm not being I own Bitcoin as a speculative play. So I own gold, and then I'll just buy a little Bitcoin because, hey, you never know. So Bitcoin is my hedge for gold. But no, Bitcoin is an asset. Okay. Everyone's putting their money into gold. Central banks own gold. Silver is going to be owned next by central banks. It's going to be monetized fully at some point down the road. Bitcoin's going to trail it or track it, kind of like, if you're a drinker of Guinness and they're out of Guinness, maybe you'll get a Bass. It'll just it'll track it higher. It's not.
Right.
It's not what the central banks are buying. Now it's going to get marked up. The U.S. government wants us to put our money in what is effectively a liquidity sponge that distracts everyone from the real problems. So it's kind of like, hey, the dollar is going to weaken. Put your money in Bitcoin. You feel good because you made money. But it's really an asset that it's made by man. It can be destroyed by man. It's kind of a God thing, God made gold. You can't really mess with that. There's nothing you can prove on there. Anyway, so that's my feeling about it.
All right. So this is this is where I really kind of put myself in that position where I look at BRICS, the effect that it's had, the long-term effect, and I don't believe that anyone understood the triggering effect and how long it would take for that trigger to actually set in. And now we're 2.5 years, 3 years into the solidification of the BRICS agreement.
Right.
And now they have 11 countries. They have 7 that have signed, another 4 that are in the wind, and they're having conversations with, I think, a dozen more, right?
Yeah.
To join BRICS. Once this happens, this is almost the equivalent of what happened to the UK when everything got pegged to the dollar, right? Would I be wrong in saying that?
I missed that last thing. Say it again.
When we started pegging everything to the dollar and how it basically just melted.
Well, it's kind of like a return to the Bretton Woods concept they want to do. You're not wrong.
I just said it wrong because that's why this is your.
I'm sorry. Say it again.
I said it wrong because I don't know how to articulate it, but I think that there was a massive collapse when we moved to the dollar.
Oh yeah. So I mean, just after World War I, there was a conference. It was Genoa, and Genoa said, "Let's go on the gold standard," and the world stayed on the gold standard, and everyone wanted to use their own currencies. And then World War II starts because that didn't work out. And then after World War II, we go, all right, we're going to stay on the gold standard, but everyone's going to use dollars guaranteed by gold. Then 1971, we go off the gold standard, and that's the beginning of all the problems. And for 50 years, it works. And by works, I mean the U.S. there was enough trust in the U.S. that they didn't think we would debase our currency as fast as we did. So now it's 50 years later, and we essentially lied. And now the BRICS, headed by China, are saying, you know what? We like that gold standard concept. Now, they're not going to necessarily go to a real gold standard, but gold becomes the core of their asset base. So everyone's got treasuries. Everyone's selling their treasuries to convert them to gold. And they're using gold as the guarantor. So, see, we in the West, since 1971, have been trained generationally to look at gold like it's, at best, a savings account that doesn't earn you interest. You just take the money, you put it in gold, and it sits there, the pet rock, yada, yada, yada. And what our government has done over that time frame, this is the crux of it. What our government has done over that time frame is that it changed the rules so that if you have $1,000 in gold, you can't go up to the Fed and say, here's $1,000 in gold. Let me get $1,000 in dollars so I can go out and grow my company, so I can buy some food. They would not take gold as collateral. They treated it like it was a pawn shop item, like it was, a broken Hummel that your grandmother had. So in doing that, they demonized it, and they drove it underground. Well, underground was basically a tunnel to the BRICS, and the BRICS keep buying it, and the BRICS keep owning it, and now they're at the point 2.5 years ago, as you said, where they say, you know what? In the West, you can have gold as a savings account, but you can't really use it as collateral to run your business, to run your life, to buy things. You can't grow your economy with gold in the West. And this is where they are right now. This is why the BRICS are, in this sense, I think they're ahead of the game. What the BRICS have done is, and I don't want to go down a rabbit hole, but I want to make it clear. What the BRICS have done is the West says you have a bar of gold, it's worth $1 million. We'll let you put it on your balance sheet as collateral, meaning you've got $1 million net worth, but you cannot spend it. You cannot borrow on it. You can't use it to get a loan. So it may as well just be a pet rock. China says, wait a minute. What I've been doing for the last 50 years is putting my money into treasuries and giving treasuries to the US, and the US has been giving me dollars, and I've been going out and growing things and spending things and building things. But the US is confiscating Russia's treasuries, so they're confiscating my dollars. Well, screw that. I'll take my treasuries and put them into gold. So that's the safety part. But now this is the new development. It's not brand new, but it's probably new for most of your audience. What China has done is it's partnered with its BRICS partners, and it's taken the gold concept and internationalized it. So they have tons of gold, and the other countries in the BRICS also have gold. And the other countries in the BRICS are mad at the US because they can't use that gold to borrow money. They can't use that gold to build bridges and tunnels and railroads and airports. China says, well, the US won't take your gold. We will. And so you're an African country and you got nothing but gold and maybe some oil. And you say, that's great. I can get an airport built here. And the US says, nope, got to use treasuries. So China says, give us your gold. We'll lend you the money. And to make you more comfortable, and here's the innovative part. So much for Chinese not being innovative. The innovative part is instead of China holding the gold stays in your country in a vault that's affiliated with them. So there's now a network of vaults like ATMs. You go to the gold ATM, you deposit your gold, they give you money, you go to the construction work and say, build me an airport. So what gold is going to become is it's going to be an engine of growth in the BRICS. And I know silver is on its heel. Now, I don't mean silver is going to be pure money. Silver's too important industrially. Gold is money. Gold is a pet rock. It does nothing. That's why it's money, because it's too expensive to use for anything else.
Right.
But silver, right? Silver is key industrially. So what's going to happen?
And you have large markets moving in to invest heavily in silver.
Oh, yes. In fact, well, I mean, the list there is it's gone from no one in the last 4 years to Saudi Arabia's sovereign wealth fund. They bought a big chunk of SLV and they got the silver. Russia's central bank has said that they're going to start buying silver. And here's the funny part, not the funny part, but here's the obvious part now. Last month, President Trump added silver to the list of critical minerals. So I would say to you that when you add a metal to critical minerals, the government now has a license to hoard it without telling anyone. You can just buy it and take delivery of it. Buy it. You don't like if it's not a critical mineral, you need permission. You're spending money on stupid things. But now it's a critical mineral. Why is it a critical mineral? Because we need it, because it's a military asset, because it's electronics, and because it's monetary. Now,
all right. So let me ask you a question.
sure.
Because gold is a commodity, because it is a commodity that you cannot tax. You're not allowed to tax gold. You're not allowed to tax silver.
Right. You may be able to tax silver. It depends on where you are. But gold is treated as money, even though it's a commodity. So you can't tax money. That's how they look at it.
Okay. So let me ask you a question. Because we just started this at DCF Guns. So you have a tax. It's called a 6.5% tax that we have on guns. You have to pay. right? When you buy a gun, it's a way that they can take away your rights, make it more difficult for you. So we told people just trade gold for the gun, and then I can't tax you.
That's right.
Right.
That's right. That's right.
So we actually are doing this thing where we put out all our advertisements saying, go over there and buy some gold, then come see us and buy your gun. You don't even pay state tax. You pay no tax, 0 tax.
So that's barter. In your case, you're legally calling the gold a good. So I'm swapping you this yellow brick for a gun.
Right.
In the government's case, especially at the state level now, they're treating that increasingly like cash. Yeah. So it works. Yeah. That's going to happen.
But you can't tax gold. It's illegal to tax gold.
Right. I mean, look, at the federal level, you can't tax money, right? And if you're just to put a fine line on it, not to contradict, but to put a fine line on, people are understanding. Well, is that always true? If you take a necklace made of gold, that's not monetary gold,
right?
So that's
has to be a gold bar. Has to be a
right.
gold.
Has to be a gold bar.
Right.
Now, that may change, but the window is open now. The window is open now. I mean, look, I remember, when I was a kid, buying a car from my cousin, and he sold it to me for $1, just to give it to me, a hunk of junk. But I ended up having to pay taxes on the blue book value of it. But if you're not paying for the gun, it's not a quid pro quo. Here's the gun. You go register it. It's free, and thank you for the gift. That's basically what it is. You're creating a gift out of it. Yeah. I mean, I haven't seen it challenged yet, but that's something that I think is doable. And by the way, let me just add this. Countries do that. Countries do that, Joe. When Russia needs to buy wheat, well, Russia's a wheat grower. So let's say Russia's going to buy soybeans. If Russia needs to buy soybeans from Brazil and they don't have dollars, Russia gets around the whole American system by using gold. The gold market is the most important hybrid market in the world. It's a commodity, but it's also money. So you can use it any way you want to. And here's the best part about it. I mean, it's my opinion, right? This part's my opinion. Why doesn't the U.S. close that hole? Because we do it too. We do it too. And we're going to do it more because of the BRICS positioning. We're going to have to deal in gold going forward and silver.
So gold, silver are not the only precious metals that we have out there. You got
right.
Palladium, you got platinum, you have titanium. Are those also metals that people can buy that would be considered? So I buy copper. Don't ask me why, because it's super cheap.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, copper's a critical mineral.
Yeah,
copper will be trading at $9 inside of 3 years. So that's a price target I'll give you. Silver will be trading at $144 in 3 years. Why? Is a legitimate question. Because whenever something is added to the critical minerals list, over a 5-year period, it goes up by 5x, 6x. Example, that would be, if you want to look at the history of that, lithium was put on the critical mineral list 5 years ago, and so was uranium. And those markets have performed as thus. At the conservative end, silver goes up to 100, and at the aggressive end, it goes up to 195 over a 5-year period. So I'm calling it $144. It doesn't have to go up there tomorrow. I don't want it to go there tomorrow because the government is just going to look. The U.S. government for copper and silver, to your silver point, U.S. government is going around right now to the bigger banks and saying we need copper and silver. Buy all the scrap you can. They're now prohibiting China to export silver and copper from the U.S. They were doing that in scrap in bundles. At the same time, they're going to go out and give money to refiners and say, go out and buy silver. We don't care what the price is. We need it. And so you're subsidizing a whole industry, kind of like the ethanol industry, but it's a critical mineral. We need it. So Copper will probably double inside of 5 years, and silver will probably triple inside of 5 years. And that's where I am, and my position reflects that in silver. And you mentioned other precious metals, and I'm not familiar with your sponsor's situation, but I have opinions on platinum and palladium if you want me to share them.
I do. I mean, look, I and I don't. We're getting away from like the politics of things, but I think it's really copper is $5 an ounce, right?
Right.
And you said it's going to be worth $9. So it's like holding a stock that you worth $5, it'll be worth $10. You double your money. So even if you spent $50 a month
Right.
on it, $600
Right.
would be worth $1,200 in a year.
Right. Yeah.
So there, I guess I want to give people a point by which they can say, okay, I'm not out of the game.
Okay.
Holds at 4,000. You see what I mean? I want people
Yeah.
to understand that there's ways to still barter in. If it collapses, copper will still have its place.
Right. Okay.
Right.
So yeah, I can give you a direct example of a conversation I had with a Goldfix subscriber, a founder, and I don't have any sponsors or anything, at least not yet. And he took me out to dinner, and we were just having a conversation. And he said, "Wow, the miners are really doing well this year." And I go, "Yeah." He goes, "I'm going to give you 2 things to buy and how to buy them if you feel like you're left behind or you're too late, you're not. So I'll give you 2 things and 2 ways to buy." The first thing he said to me was, "Miners are up 85% this year. My miners have done well. Should I buy more?" And I said to him, I know his financial situation. I said to him, yes. I said, "Are you going to hold it for 5 to 10 years?" He goes, "Yes." I said, "Yes. And here's why." So I'll tell you that. And then we'll get into the actual metal in a second. The miners have excess cash flow, the most they've ever had in almost 50 years. And Wall Street's not buying them because it thinks gold's going to go back down. Gold's not going to go back down. It's just the BRICS are buying it to hold it forever. It's going to be part of their financing. They're going to build roads. They're going to build airports. The gold is going to be used and used as a financing tool. So the mining stocks in the US are, number one, they're as profitable as they've ever been in 50 years. Number two, the US government is going to take stakes in miners to protect them and to support them and to subsidize them. So I'll give you 2 examples. One, we just bought a stake in a lithium miner. We just bought a stake in another miner. Yesterday it was announced. I forget the name. The US just announced they're going to reopen a road and develop a road in Alaska in the gold development area. They need gold. They need silver. So miners are going to be encouraged like oil was in the 90s when we needed to get more oil. That's just the way it's going to happen. So that's the miners.
Do you think they're moving away from lithium right now?
No, not at all. No, not at all. But I think they're a lot further along in securing lithium.
Yeah.
So what I mean is we have lithium coming up in Arkansas, right? You have, I think Chevron or Exxon is going to drill there. You have the relationship with Argentina. That's to secure lithium. They got a ton of lithium over there. And although the problem with lithium is short term, like we put on the critical mineral list 5 years ago. Well, now it's in the pipeline.
Right.
It's a great headline now, but lithium's not the crucial aspect anymore. It's coming. We're going to get that. Yeah.
I just feel like there's something else happening with that they're changing the technology for batteries specifically that would affect.
Well, that's silver. Hold on. All right, so we'll go down memory lane here. In 1993, when I started trading silver, I made sure that I understood everything about it. And at the time, we had the lunar lander was running on a silver battery.
Right.
In 1994, I'm saying they're going to have silver batteries, and I'm all excited about it. And of course, it's 2025, and we don't have silver batteries. Well, we're going to have silver batteries now. And is it going to happen tomorrow? No. Does it already work? Yes. Is it developed? Yes. Samsung and Japan in general. See, Japan missed out on the EVs a little bit. And so they said, the Tesla style of EV and the hybrid. Well, they had the hybrids, had the Prius, but they want better battery technology, and they're working on solid state, silver-based batteries, which will last longer, hold a charge, and take you further. And we're probably within 2 years of those hitting the market. The only thing holding them back is having enough silver. That's one of the reasons silver is a critical mineral for us now, because Japan has the technology for silver batteries. I mean, no, silver is going to become more important as time goes on. I mean, I could go on about this, but I just want to say that you're going to hear over the next 5 years, you're going to hear this pushback about silver. Well, they're figuring out ways to use less silver in solar panels. And I'm like, yeah, that's going to drive the price of the solar panel down, and more people are going to buy them. They're figuring out how to use silver optimally in new technologies. When Henry Ford invented the car and put it on an assembly line, more cars were sold because he drove the price down. I'm not worried about the price of silver because the application, look, there are windshield wipers right now that function with silver in the windshield instead of copper. So a thin coat of silver, give me an idea of what they're going to do with it. There's a thin coat of silver you can put in a windshield that will not only be a de-icer for you in the winter, but in the summer it will keep the sun out, so your car won't get too hot. It's too expensive right now, so you can't do it. But they're going to figure out a thinner way to put it out, and it's going to be used in windshields. It's going to be used in cars. It's going to be used in batteries. And people are talking about this for years, but it's happening right now. Why else would we make it a critical mineral? Why else would Russia say they're accumulating it? Why else would the Saudis buy it? Why else would China, who has the biggest accumulator of silver in the world, Chengtong, Chengtong, if anyone wants to look that up on their own time, they're buying silver for investment, for military applications, for coins, and for solar. This is from a Chinese mainland guy that I have a contact with. Look, gold is money, but silver is more. I can't be more emphatic about that. And I'm long and getting longer silver right now. At these prices, I'm not that worried. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, at $48, and everybody, my friend, because we talk about buying different precious metals.
Right.
And, I'll get a couple $100 here, a couple $100 there. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go buy some silver. Everybody's like, why would you take your spare cash and buy silver? I was like, because I just feel like it's going to explode.
They don't get it.
And I bought it at $22. I remember it was $22, and I just bought a truckload of it. I actually sold a car and bought whatever the proceeds, all in silver.
Right. Oh,
like a nutball.
But you can't drive your silver, but I can buy cars to drive now with it.
I just doubled my money. I doubled my money on that car. So a car appreciated for me.
Right.
The daggone car depreciated for me before I sold it, but I went ahead and grabbed it. Now I got all my money back.
Right. And that's when someone says to you, why are you putting your extra cash in silver? I mean, it's hard to say this to them because they are of a religion, a neo-Keynesian, neoliberal religion. And the religion says the dollar is the store of value, silver is a pet rock. But the reality is, using gold and silver as an example, silver and gold aren't going up, the dollar's going down. So it's not like your silver is worth more, your dollar is worth less. And so when they say, why are you putting your extra money in silver? It's like, well, because silver is going to be silver. There's no substitute for it. And there'll be more dollars printed tomorrow, but they're not making more silver. You asked a question that I'd actually finished saying for your audience that's thinking about stacking or how they can get involved without. Aside from the miners, here's the other thing that my buddy told me. I said, so what are you doing? So what are you doing besides miners? I told him buy miners, yada, yada, yada. And I was right. So far anyway. I said, what are you doing about physical? And he said, well, he doesn't personally have a lot of physical. And I'm not recommending that you do this if you're a metals person, but for him, it works. He said that his company is now offering pooled gold and silver as an investment tool for his paychecks. So he's taking $100 out of every paycheck, like a 401k, and he's putting it into a pooled account. Now, I had to explain to him what he was dealing with there. He's dealing with a pooled account. The silver may not be there if he needs it, et cetera, et cetera. But that's where he is. I'm not going to try.
That's
I'm
so
not going to.
dangerous.
I understand, but I understand. But what are you going to say? What are you going to say? I mean,
don't do it. Just take the $100 and go buy the silver and put it in a big pile.
But that's next.
Swim in it.
But Joe, next is I'm going to take him to a store, or I'm going to look. What I've started to do is I've started to bring coins over when we go out to dinner.
Yeah,
and I'll say, see what this is. This was dinner. This 2 ounces of silver was a good dinner when I was 16, and now 2 ounces of silver is a good dinner when I'm 60. And I'm making these dents, but it's baby steps for some people. But if you're already beyond where he is, and you just want to buy physical, and that's what you want to do. And the point is, you're not missing it. It's dollar cost averaging. You don't want to go out and buy like maybe you do. I don't know, $10,000 now, and have it drop $5 next week and say, "Oh, I'm screwed." No, you want to spend $100 a week, $50 a week, $25 a week, and you want to get on a plan where you don't miss it, because it's going to be worth something. It's going to be worth a lot more, because look, we have to print dollars to spend money now. There's no dollars we owe the world trillions of dollars.
Yeah.
And we
it's
can't pay it back. I'm sorry?
That's not worth anything, or is losing its value very quickly.
Yeah. Right. We owe the world trillions of dollars, and they want to be paid that money, and we're not bringing in the revenue as a country anymore because we don't make anything. So we're going to have to print dollars to pay them. So the debt gets paid, but now there's 2 times as many, 3 times as many dollars. The chart I think you want to look at to make people realize what a mess it is M2, the monetary supply, because that's what started to ramp up. It started to ramp up during COVID. It never backed off, and now it's ramping up more. The bubble of all bubbles is the Fed's balance sheet. They cannot look. Our house is crashing anymore since before COVID. Remember in 2008 we had a housing crash.
Yes, we
2008 we have a housing crash.
I mean, it's going down right now. It's been down like 6-7%.
I'm not arguing with that, but I'm talking about the crisis in 2008. We had a housing crash. Yes. What did the government do? It went into the banks and bought all their mortgages to bail them out. It's 2025. We had a housing crisis a year ago where we didn't have enough houses, and the government hasn't sold net 1 mortgage-backed bond into the market.
Right.
They're holding it forever. It's a marriage. So, and if the housing market crashes again, they're going to buy more. All we can do is make dollars now. So, I could say it a million different ways, but I'm sure your audience has heard it a million different ways. But it's the era of real assets again. We are in the pre-1971 era again. That's what's going on.
Okay, so as we make these shifts, do we stop buying stocks? And I'm asking these questions personally because I still play in the stock market. I shorted Tesla. I shorted Tesla.
What?
I shorted Tesla because it had the what is it called, the candlestick deal where it went up and went down. So I was like, see, I can't even use the right vernacular. I just know what it looks like.
No, I mean like the candlestick had a long wick above it.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, it's going down.
This is not the technical term, but I used to call that the lightsaber. It looked like Star Wars lightsaber, like a big long thing above.
So once you see the long, what's it called, downward candlestick, or it has the high and the low all in the same day. Yeah, you short it. Right, 99.99% of the time. So I shorted it, made a bunch of money real quick, right? And so I'm not that brilliant. I just talked to my friend who he's taught me all this stuff. So I'm like, the thingamajiggy did this, and then it went up like this. Short it.
That's a trade, right? That's a trade, and we lose money on trades like we lose money on football bets. But
no.
In terms of stocks, I'm sorry.
No, those are like sure things. Those are the ones
they're supposed to be. I mean, they are usually. You just have to be disciplined with your risk, and you have to find enough of them. Look, stocks in general. Okay, two examples. One just happened in Japan, and the other one is happening in the U.S. right now. So start with the U.S.
Okay.
Trump needs our stock valuations to stay high. So he's spending money, giving money to companies to build infrastructure, to keep people employed. And at the same time, the manufacturing gets built again. And you look down the road, and that's going to grow our economy. Now, that's why you buy stocks, because if we have low to moderate inflation, then when inflation goes up, let's say 3 or 5%, the company can raise its prices by 3 or 5%. They make more money. That's the point. You have to own stocks in the early to intermediate session of inflation. You have to do that because companies make more money, they can raise prices, and that's what they'll do. When it gets too hot, and we're not there yet, then you see companies try to raise prices, and they can't because everyone's taking their extra money and they're spending it on gold and silver because they can't keep up. They can't buy things fast enough. So the price of eggs goes up. You're like, all right, I have to buy the eggs, but I'm not going to go on the vacation. I'll just buy some gold with my money. So in the US, you have what's going on right now, an engineered boom. We need to spend money to get the economy going. We're going to drive inflation higher, 3, 4, 5% over the next 5 years. But if we do it right, if Trump does it right, and the Fed and the Treasury work well together, you're going to have the economy remanufacture. We're going to grow.
Yes.
If it doesn't work, for whatever reason, Trump's fault,
screwed.
Powell's fault, Russia nukes someone, right? We're all screwed. Now what you got,
like I said, we're all going to die. We're all going to die.
Right, exactly. Let's pretend we live a little bit. All these databases, all these data centers.
I feel a little demonic laughing about that. We're all going to die.
I'm hedging for death. Exactly. That's the thing, I mean, the smartest people out there are saying you need to own stocks and you need to take the other money that you don't have and you need to put it literally, like Michael Hartnett, CIO of Bank of America. I may have mentioned it last time. He's putting on what he tells. This is what he's telling people to put on. You want to put on a barbell trade. On one side of the barbell or the dumbbell, you have your stocks. And maybe it's tech stocks. Maybe it is, right? On the other side, you want to put in it the things that will benefit in the late stages of inflation. And that would be gold, materials, energy, and believe it or not, small cap stocks, because small cap stocks will be pricing competitive. So you take your money
small cap stocks.
I'm sorry, what?
I like small cap stocks.
Yeah, because I mean, especially if you think the Fed's going to cut more.
Yeah.
If you think the Fed's going to cut more, the smaller companies will be able to compete again. So look, we're going to get two types of inflation: the good inflation and the bad inflation. The good inflation makes stocks go up. The bad inflation makes commodities go up. And gold and silver are telling you right now that the bad inflation is going to come again. That's it.
Well, it's so there's now we have to look at what the economic indicators show us in war. Like, are we going to war?
Yes.
Right.
No, I mean, yes, we are going to war.
Or are we already in war?
Yes. I mean, yes. I mean,
so now let's talk about this. We got this. This is
all right.
Great. Ready? All right.
Okay.
So this weekend I went and spoke at the Freedom Fest in Knoxville, Tennessee. Right? Beautiful, amazing people. And I basically said that if we don't get rid of machines and mail-in ballots, and we don't get back to a system that's hand count, paper ballot, in person, bring an ID, make it a federal holiday, right? Pay the people that count the ballots $100 an hour. I said, pay them all $100. You think that you're going to have trouble lining people up to count ballots in person? You're putting $100 an hour in their pocket? No, people will literally take their 2 weeks vacation just to go do this. It'll be a big list of people that get doing, right? Anyway, got that.
Right.
All right, pinning it. I said, if we don't do that, we are 100% going to die. Like, we're going to die.
Wait. All right.
Well, because
nervous laughter. What do you mean?
Yeah. So what I mean by that is that the country can't survive.
Oh, yeah.
And its current trajectory right now, the country, there's so much corruption. There's so much corruption happening everywhere And there's so much lawlessness. What I mean by lawlessness is not that you can walk down the street and people are just shooting each other inside of cars, but it could get there, right? Because judges are basically so rotted out to the core, and they're so bad. These Marxists, they're gross, right? Have turned the country on its head. They've stood in the way of progress on the legislative side. They've stood in the way of progress on the executive side. We steal the elections, put people in positions of power and authority at states levels that then just defies the federal government. So you have all these different things that are happening all at once, right? Okay. Now, with that said, and you look at states like Oregon, California, Washington, what the governor in Chicago said,
Right,
the
Illinois.
governor, yeah, and the mayor in Chicago, sorry, the governor of Illinois, the mayor of Chicago,
right,
where they talked about us being in a civil war. Then if what, and David and I talked about this, and he's like, listen, sedition and treason are two things you don't have to have a civilian court for. They're actively committing sedition. And when police officers say we're not going to stand up for and defend ICE because they're ICE and let harm be done to them, that's sedition.
Right.
So we're at war. Tell me we're not at war. We're at war right now. We're already in it.
Yeah. Well, you're talking about the Civil War, and I wasn't thinking about that, but that's. I mean, we may as well have a war based on how things are going in the urban areas. I can't comment to that except to say the
right.
division seems to be permanent on a generational basis, and it's going to get worse.
But it's caused by propaganda. It's caused by literally a mind rot of people who are really disgusting people inside of our education systems that have institutionalized retardation.
Right.
They've institutionalized it. And because everyone around you, and they ran these tests back in the 50s and 60s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, where they had 4 actors and 1 person, and they were staring at lines.
Oh yeah. Tell me more. I don't know enough about these, really.
And so you have the 4 people, 3 actors and 1 person, and the 3 actors all know they're going to pick the short line, even though the longer lines are well above the short lines.
Right.
And so they're looking at it and they're like, yeah, the first one. And then so the first person says the first one, which is longer by, 3 inches than the other one. Right. And the second person says, oh yeah, the first one's shorter. And then the third one, the first time through, looks around at them. It's like, what's wrong with you? And he's like, the third one is shorter because it's actually shorter. Right. And the fourth person picks the first one again. So you have 4 people, right? And you go back through the thing again. They go and ask again. 3 of them are actors.
Right.
You had 3 of them that, again, next test was a circle. So you had like a circle, a square, and a circle. And they're like, pick the bigger square. And the first guy goes, first one. And it's a circle. Now the guy that's not an actor is like looking at him like, what?
Right.
What was wrong with this guy?
People brain damaged.
And then the second guy goes, the first one, the circle. That's the biggest square. Yeah. And so then the third guy, thinking to himself, looking at these guys like, maybe I'm seeing it wrong, picks the circle too.
Right.
Even though he knows it's not a square.
Right.
That's what's happening in our society right now.
Right.
It's so obvious.
Well, I mean, the left, Brett, I guess if you do it enough times, you start to say, all right, well, I guess I'm wrong. Depends on how confident you are in reality. The progressive wing, the progressive mindset has invented the concept of everything is relative. And when you make everything relative, you lose an anchor. So it starts with, this is going to be a little bit, I don't do politics, but I do this. Since the Renaissance, everyone's been telling you that there are no absolutes. Everything's relative, right? And so you take that concept and it starts with, it's like history. It starts with religion. Well, I still believe in God, your God, my God, his God. And so you have the Lutheran Protestant Reformation. I have no problem with that. But the point is you start to muddy the water. And as time goes on, communists, Marxists pick up on that and they go, oh, if you can take everything that's viewed as a truth and make it gray, you're halfway towards convincing people to see it your way. So
Yes.
your guy with the lines and the circles and the squares, right? So if you, I know you remember this, but during COVID, it was like, well, it's all relative. It's not a felony. We'll let him off the hook. Or it's a felony, but it's not a big felony. And everything becomes more and more relative to the point where you have to have a tether, whether it be, let's pretend that you're a first generation atheist, but you have morals because you got those morals from your religion. Now, 2 generations into that mindset, you're completely off the tether. You're off the anchor and you don't know what right and wrong is. And now you got some guy telling you that's the longest line. That's the shortest line. And you're going, all right, I guess it is. It's all relative, right? It's like when people come up to you and say, it's all good, man. No, it's not all good, man. There's a difference. There's right and wrong. And that's where we are now. When you muddy the water that much, you can tell people anything is what you want it to be, and they'll agree with you. And that's where we are now.
No, I totally agree with you 1,000%. And if you, I talk about, and I know politics is the place that, I wish I could stay away from it, frankly. But it melds into politics, always plays a part. And people's truth, because they say, everyone can have their own truth, which is totally
your truth, right? Your truth, my
there's
truth.
only one truth,
yeah, but
right?
there's still one fact. Like there's still a truth.
You're either retarded or you're not. You can either see the truth or you can't.
Right.
There's not like women can be men. No, they can't. Absolutely not.
Right.
Can't happen. Right. But we find ourselves in that place where we're negotiating with the ridiculous.
Right. Right.
So I want
to, Joe. It's 2 generations in though. So it's not like you can just grab them and say, no, 1 and 1 is 2. They firmly believe 1 and 1 is 3. And so you've lost a generation with this mindset. And so civil war, to your point, we're on the verge of civil war. Reasonable people don't agree on anything now.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. And we find ourselves fighting over some of the most ridiculous things out there. So I want to address this in the comments so you guys understand it, because I have people that, some people that listen to the podcast say I can't afford to gamble in stocks and precious metals. So I want to address this for a minute. Okay.
Yeah.
The reason why I have Vince on is because everyone is poor at different levels. That's why I brought up commodities and bought up precious metals on what you can contribute to. Copper is $5. It's $5 an ounce. $5. Okay. If you really want to, so everything is incremental. If you buy a $5 coin, it's worth $10 in a year. That's the reality. It's 509 right now. It'll be worth $10. If you want to move from that to silver, silver is $48 now. So you have a $50 bill, you go buy a coin, got a couple dollars left over, then you can buy a couple, a half ounce, or you can buy a full ounce, add $3 to it and buy a full ounce of copper. It's all incremental, right? The idea of being poor at different levels is to invest what you can when you can. In other words, you got $5, you put it into a coin. If you were going to eat that $5 or go buy yourself a Starbucks, hopefully, God bless you if you don't do that. Please don't do it. Drink glass before you actually have Starbucks. But if you were going to do that and you don't have a lot of money, put that $5 into a coin, right? A copper coin. You can get those anywhere. You can go to Forex stores. They have them literally all over every major town. You can go online. You can buy a coin. You can go on Facebook. People are always selling things for next to nothing. And you just watch it and you pick off little itty bits. And you say, well, I don't have time for that. Yes, you do. You do have time for it. It's incremental. But I'm trying to do this for you so that you can have more, not so you can have less. I'm doing this because I care about you. I'm having Vince on because actually I really love talking to Vince. I learn a lot. But but I do this because I want you to understand that there are ways for you to invest and to participate where you don't feel like you're left behind. It's incremental though. It's incremental. Right. Now, and I say that because I grew up super poor. I didn't have a pot to piss in. I didn't have a window to throw out of. Actually, I'm getting back there because they've taken this lawsuit stuff and it's taken its toll on me. But I still know how to invest in things like metals that I know that I can, it becomes my retirement, right? Yeah. We are the babies. We are the beagles. We are the slaves. We are the prey. Okay, Gammy. Yeah, so Gammy says, while I was getting my real estate license, I had to clean houses, to pay and paint houses, to feed myself and my kids until I passed my test. Yeah, that's my whole point. My point is that I truly care about you. I care about the people that support us. I care about the people that have been involved in supporting Untamed. I care about you at every level. It's not like, oh, Joe, it's easy for you. Nothing has been easy for me, ever. And my entire life has been easy for me. But if you listen to Vince and just pay attention to it, I promise you that there'll be things around the corner where you can actually incrementally put yourself in a better position. Okay, go ahead, Vince.
I think, and I'm speaking for everyone who's listening who might be a little younger than us, certainly younger than me. Society has conspired with screens and technology and 5,000 channels that you click that nothing is on to make us be so short-term oriented that we can't stay focused on what we need to do long-term. How many times have you gone online looking for one thing and ended up somewhere else?
1,000%.
Even if you're really trying to focus. So I understand, and I know you do as well, that when you go online or just your day-to-day, everything is an interruption. There's no privacy for your own. There's no boundaries. That's the word. There's no boundaries, right? So I mean, it's a miracle that I even thought to put this on private or silent. But you have to do that more. You need to create a meditative space for yourself. And I'm tying this to your decisions to invest. We can have a conversation here and everyone can be listening and say, that's a great idea. I'm going to save $5 a week. I'm going to save $50 a week. I'm going to save $100 a month. And I'm going to go to the store. And then something's going to happen and you're going to not be able to do it, or you're not going to think about it, or you get distracted, or you'll go down some rabbit hole on some, bullshit errand that you can't get back. And so the way to combat that, because we grew up with a lot of our own issues, Joseph and myself, but this environmental ADD we didn't have, and we're dealing with it. I got it now. Don't get me wrong, but at least I know what it's not. I'm saying I'm going to give you a solution that I said to that guy who's doing the 401, not the 401k. He's doing the pooled commodity thing, the pooled gold thing, right? So what I said to him was almost like a rehab. It's almost a rehab. What I told him, I said, how much can you save a month? Now, he can save a decent amount of money. I go, all right, how much money do you save a month? Let's say I'm going to make a number up. It's $1,000. I go, all right, so you save $1,000 a month, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. It's after tax money. It's after expense money. Whatever the dollar amount that you put into a savings account, that's one thing that everyone still has. That training, like I'll save $50 a week or $5 a week or $5 a day in a coffee can. At the end of the month, you save $25, $50, $75, $100, $200. So what I've done with him is I've done an intervention. At the end of the month, I go, how much have you saved? And he goes, X. And I go, okay, me too. I'm not going to discuss, I'm not going to compete with him. Me too. Let's take 10%, put our money together and go buy something. And that's what we're doing. So last week, last month we bought some silver maple leaves. And this month we're going to be buying some, 1/10 ounce gold pieces. So the point is, you can't get to the store, you're going to get distracted. But if you have a buddy or a pal that you can talk to once a month, it really sounds like an intervention here, But you could have someone who's of the like mind. Let's say you're a weightlifter. You got a partner. He makes sure you're up. He makes sure you're there. He spots you. You need a spotter for this stuff in this day and age. And so I'm his spotter because I had a spotter, and that's the way it works. So at the end of the month, every month, I call him up. That's my job. I call him up. I go, how much did you save? He goes, $150, $200. I go, great. Okay. So let's put 10% of that. Actually, what ends up happening is he buys a coin every month. That's what ends up happening. So whether he's saving $100 or $500, he buys a coin. But when he says, I saved $500, I say, let's make it 2. And so I'm just trying to make him grow that way. Yeah. I'm just saying the world is conspiring to make you unfocused. Have someone in your family as a designated silver recommender. I don't know how else to put it, but that's what you have to do. That's what I've had to do. So hopefully that helps.
No, you're absolutely right. So Vince, give everyone at least a stock tip of the day. First of all, do you think they're going to lower interest rates in the next month?
Yeah, I think I'll tell you, like after our conversation, you were like 50 to 100 basis points, and I was like 25 to 50.
Yeah.
I was saying in that conversation, if he doesn't cut 50 now, he'll cut 50 later. Dude, I'm scared. He might not cut 50. He should cut 50 now. He might not cut 50. And the government shutdown makes 50 a sure thing, I think. But I haven't seen signs of that yet. We're going to find out next week. But to answer your question directly, I think another 25 over the next 2 months is a lock, which may sound obvious, but with this guy, it's not. I think when he's gone, you're going to get 50 and 100 basis point cuts, and it'll be too late. Too late. That's it.
Well, let's hope it's not. Let's hope it's not too late. When's the next cut? By the way, isn't it a couple days? Isn't it a couple days?
No. Well, it's going to be October 15th or 17th.
Yeah.
No, October 15th.
All right. So
right, and then November, December.
I'm going to tell you what I think. I think that a half a basis point is not enough. Half a point.
Okay.
Half a point's not enough. I think it has to be a full point.
Unfortunately, he doesn't care about us. He only cares about his reputation.
Yeah, because
unfortunately,
if you drop it a point, man, I think that would be, and this is just short term anyway, right? So
yeah,
I just think there's so many bad things that are happening right now that it's an undercurrent. Ugh, it's just crazy.
Look, I'm with you. I'm with you all the way on this. We've already dropped the inflation target, 2%, 2%, 2%. He's now at 3% and he's lowering rates. So if he's not worried about the inflation target now, it's just a matter of time before we get a 50 or 100 basis point cut. But until that happens, we need to see an unemployment number that gives him cover. He needs to cover his ass to do it. He needs to see blood in the streets. So that's what the Fed does. They do too little, too late, and then they have to go over the top. That's what they always do, unfortunately. Oh, what hat do you have that you want me to? I want to do a hat swap with you. Can I do a hat swap with you?
Absolutely.
You're going to like this. MAGGA. So this is Make Silver Great Again.
Yes.
Right? And I'll do a swap with you, right? For one of your hats.
100%.
This is like my beta. I just tested this. So basically it's not focused here. There it is. So
there we go.
So it's MAGA, AG for silver. I have one for gold too, but the silver one's just so much better for obvious reasons. And we'll do a swap. I would like to have one of your hats.
I will get you one of my hats. I've got a bunch of them.
Thank you.
So we'll talk again. I'm going to put you back on the 17th if that's okay. We'll go through this again. I just want to tell everyone right now. Listen, what you're going through right now is temporary, and sometimes we have to slow down to speed up, and we have to really look at how it is that you can participate in what's happening in the market, right? Without a whole lot of risk. $5, $10. There's different types of precious metals that you can invest in that will show a large return in the future. I guarantee you.
Yeah, I would say buy silver, and I like copper actually. I mean, I'm long it speculatively speaking, but you can't fix America without copper.
Can't do a whole lot without copper.
No, you can't. You can't.
All right, brother. How can people follow you? I know how to follow you, but tell them how to follow you.
The Substack is VBL Victor Boy Larry Goldfix Goldfix .substack.com, and I'm on X. My name is just type in VBL's Ghost, my initials VBL and Ghost, and it'll pop up, and you just follow that if you want to. But my Twitter account or X account, it's an X account, is an acquired taste sometimes, but it'll be fun. We'll have some fun there. I do politics on that. Let's put it that way.
Awesome. Thanks, brother. Thanks for coming on. God bless you.
Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
Take care. So I keep watching your all's comments, and somebody getting mad at me. Somebody got mad at me. Who got mad at me? Let's see here. Temporary never felt so long lasting. I agree with you. Yeah. But I want you guys to understand something. I've been going through what I've been going through for 5 years. Everyone has some junk in their trunk. Let me tell you about my friend Dave Bear. If it wasn't for Dave Bear, I never would have made it out. In November of 2020, I had COVID really bad. My pulse ox was below 70. They said, go to the hospital. I wouldn't. And he came to my house, gave me an IV, gave me ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, gave me steroids, did all this stuff for me. Just an amazing man. Well, he has cancer for the second time in the last 2.5 years. First time it was cancer over his heart. They had to crack his chest open, take the cancer out. Fast forward 7 months later, everything's getting better. He has myopathy in his fingers. Myopathy in his fingers. And he was a doctor. And so I said, hey, you want to just come work with me, and we'll do a bunch of crazy stuff together. So we did. Fast forward 6 months later, cancer was back. Neuropathy, yeah. They had to crack his chest open again, and they took it out again. He's on ivermectin. He's on fenbenazole. I've called everyone to get this done. Fast forward again. They found lesions in his lungs. Lots of them. Lots of spots. It had gone from around his heart to his lungs. When they were taking it out, you had probably epithelials of small cells that fell onto his lungs, and it developed cancer of his lungs. They thought it was giant cell, which, the prognosis is poor. And we call up all these different hospitals, and we try all these different treatments, and we're doing everything we can to, get everyone to come together and make it sure it works, and see if we can come up with some treatments for him. And last week they had to put him on chemotherapy, had to spend an entire week in the hospital. I pray for Dave every single day, because without Dave, he has three young children. He's probably the most genuine, amazing man I've ever met. And the treatment that he has to take right now would kill 95% of the people that take it. It's that bad. So I talked to him this morning, and he's like, Joe, I can't sleep. So how they found the cancer to begin with is he couldn't sleep because the cancer was putting pressure on his heart, made it very difficult for him to breathe. Now, through this whole thing, he lost his phrenic nerve on the left side. So it makes your diaphragm work so you can have your lungs. And so he only has one. And so he had trouble breathing to begin with. He still has the right phrenic nerve. He just doesn't have the left. And he's like, yeah, I think the cancer in my chest is growing because I can't sleep. It's just like, I'm fine when I sit up, but as soon as I lay down, it's too much. We all are going through things. All of us. And all of us think that what we're going through is too great to overcome. And I told Dave it's not too great for you to overcome, and it's not too great for us to overcome. But we have to at least try. You have to put the effort in. So I don't want negative comments. I want positive comments. I want you to be positive about the situation that you're in. It will manifest itself in your life. And I pay attention to what you're doing. I mean, I brought Vince on because truly he's a guy that I love talking to. We'll get on text and we'll go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. I've been busy for the last couple of weeks because frankly, I have to do my job and then I have to help out with what Dave was doing. Right. He was and so I don't have a lot of time. I do the podcast a couple hours a day. I do everything I can to bring stuff to you. I still got to get my election fraud stuff done. I travel to speak to other people. And sometimes I tell people, listen, we either fix this or we're not. We're going to die. To show you just how drastic of a change that has to happen. And throughout all of that, I have to maintain hope in Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And know that, look, we'll get over this. All this stuff, we'll get over it. And if we don't get over it, guess what? We'll be with God. It'll be fine. But we have to work the problem. So when I have Vince on here, it's because I want you to work the problem. I want you to say, okay, I found $5 on the ground. Who's got a thing of silver? who's got some copper for me? Hey, somebody go cut out the copper out of that house and bring it to me. I'll buy it from you for $5 an ounce. Don't do that. I don't recommend that you do that. But I'm a really busy guy. I'm really busy. Montreal says, Joe, you're a really busy man. I am. I'm super busy. And I take my time a couple hours a day to come and speak to you because I think it's important that we work the problem together. And sometimes I get pissed off. I get really pissed off. But we have to fight our fight. We have to fight all the way to the end. And we're not even promised that. You have no idea when the end's going to be. So your job is to literally, that's the only job you have, is to not look at it from the piss-colored lenses. It is so easy to get into that because I was there. I was there a couple of weeks ago. I was just pissed off that this piece of trash judge, this disgusting federal judge, could take from me what wasn't his. And then we get all this information about Coomer. He should be in prison. He should go to prison for the rest of us, if not worse. And I know it's coming. I know treason and sedition. I know it's coming against them. I know it is. Ultra MAGA Pat says, I get pissed off too. Then I throw rolled up socks at the telly. The DMAC, you need more brothers in arms, Joe. Yeah, I'd love more brothers in arms. Some of you guys actually know that you'll listen to me because I built this whole thing about brothers. We had this whole thing. Here's what I want you to know. I want you to know that I want to give you some opportunities for you to have more. That's what I want. I want to give you opportunities to do something different where you can positively affect your outcome. Because even if you're winning $5, you invest $5 in something and you make $5, so be it. Even if you buy silver and you're like, I'm going to turn this silver over and I'm just going to wait for a little bit and then I'm going to sell it and I'm going to make 30% or 40%. Silver will go up dramatically. I promise you right now, as I am sitting here in front of you, I am not like, I know, like I see dead people. That doesn't mean that I'm a financial advisor. I'm not, but I do know that I've done well doing these things and I read a lot and I'm giving you some opportunities to think differently. Think differently. That's it. That's all I'm going to say. Let's talk about some other stuff if we can. And I wouldn't do this if I didn't care about you. Okay. And I really want you to have something that's secure. Oh, so can we talk about the DOJ? Can we talk about a bombshell discovery where senators have uncovered that Biden's FBI spied on GOP senators during Jack Smith's Arctic frost investigation and that they weaponized it against President Trump? Let's play this first cut.
Solicitation of these telephone records, which I think emphasizes the political weaponization that was behind all this effort. And we're still getting more information, but we've released some records today, and I'll let Senator Johnson take over from here, and then each one of you colleagues can join in when you want to, whatever you want to say.
First of all, I want to thank Senator Grassley. It is because of his relentless advocacy for whistleblowers that a lot of this information is surfacing right now. We wouldn't know about the list of 100 Republican entities that were targeted by Jack Smith's Arctic Frost investigation. I don't think we know about this as well. So we need whistleblowers. I think Dan Bongino and folks in the FBI, they don't know where all the records are hidden. They still don't. They're not necessarily getting 100% cooperation. But this is outrageous, what has happened. I just want to give you a timeline of this. I think you've already got the FBI sheet that shows the number of members of Congress that were targeted. Representative Kelly, Senators Graham, Haggerty, Hawley, Sullivan, Tuberville, myself, Senator Lummis, and Blackburn. Now, this memo was dated September of 2023. To put it all into context, the Mar-a-Lago raid occurred in August of 2022. Jack Smith announced the indictments against President Trump in August of 2023. So this is almost 2 months later. They're casting this net, this fishing expedition against members of the Senate and the House. Again, I've been investigating this with Senator Grassley. This doesn't surprise me, but it should shock every American of what the Biden administration has done. And by the way, this is the first time I was targeted by the FBI. Under the Obama administration, the same thing happened to both Senator Grassley and I. As part of the Foreign Influence Task Force, we were giving a briefing to try and convince us that the Hunter Biden laptop was no big deal. Basically, trying to throw us off the track. So this is major corruption that's being revealed inside the Obama and Biden Department of Justice, the FBI. And I'll turn it over to, I guess, Senator Haggerty, who's one of the individuals. Again, none of us were subject to targets of this investigation. There's no predicate. There's no reason for this other than a fishing expedition, which, again, should outrage and shock every American. Senator Haggerty.
Thank you, Senator John.
So Jack Smith, the next one to go down. I want to point something out, please, for everyone, if I can, and that is Jack Smith did some really bad things to President Trump. What about all the people that did really bad things to Americans? I mean, is this, I mean, I'll say what it is, and that is the American people have suffered immeasurably by the behavior of the elitists, the technocracy, the people in office, the judges that are out there, stole the voice of the people, not just in 1 year, 5 years, or 10 years, but decades. I just want to know what do the American people get? Why is it we sit around, we talk about how we're like watching a football team as some sort of gladiatorial contest, and somewhere along the line, I care just about Jack Smith. Jack Smith is a symptom of a larger problem, and the fact that he could attack President Trump should show you and show President Trump what they have done to the American people for decades. It's a lawless society where they can lock people up with impunity. You had J6ers that were thrown in jail under what's called the 1512, which was used in Enron, as they were basically trying to hide paperwork, hide documents. Instead, they used it as a felony in order to keep people indefinitely confined to prison so that they could take away their rights as Americans for walking on the lawn. How dare you walk on the lawn, slave? So getting attacked when you're worth billions of dollars and you have the ability to withstand those attacks, yes, you're a symbol of what was done to the American people. But as we go after James Comey for the 8647, and as we go after Jack Smith for spying on GOP congressmen and doing the things that he did retroactively against President Trump, all of those things are great. But that doesn't address the systematic fraud and rot that we face every day as Americans. And just because it happened to President Trump doesn't mean we shouldn't be addressing the people in normal positions, judges, governors, mayors. When you want to know where I think the highlight should be, where we should have the red light on it. It should be on the forehead of Eric Coomer, John Polis, Lord Moloch Brown, the private equity firms that actually funded them, the lawyers of Eric Coomer. That's where it should be placed, 100%. President Trump put this up. He goes, deranged Jack Smith got caught with his hands in a cookie jar, a real sleazebag. I agree with you. He's a real sleazebag. But why are we still sniffing asses? The time needs to be right. We need to make sure we have military tribunals. We need to make sure we do the right thing. The government is shut down. I'm glad the government shut down. But while the government at the federal level is shut down, the state level is still allowed to do and act with impunity and do really terrible things to the American people. It is that bad. Love it how people focus in on stupid people. Let's go to this. This is Tuberville. I expect that countries like China and North Korea would go after me when I got to the Senate, but I never expected my own country under Joe Biden tapping my phone. Let's go ahead and play cut 3.
Well, they just briefed us, Larry. Dan Bongino came over, deputy of the FBI. We had all of us in the room. This is the first we've heard of it. Obviously, I figured we would be somehow breached by China or North Korea, but not by your own government. This is all about Donald Trump. I'm an ally of Donald Trump. I love this country. The Democratic Party, the Biden administration tried to destroy this country. They tried to keep intact and contact with their enemies, so to speak, which was people that love this country, such as me and the other senators. But this is outrageous. They told us our phone numbers were breached, but we do not know that if there any content was added in there. The investigation just started. This is out of control. It's going to get worse and worse. Again, I have nothing to hide. But Jack Smith, he has a lot to hide. He's trying to save his soul himself because he is deep into this, and he was trying to find some way to get out of it once he started going after President Trump.
Why is it that I have to say the obvious things out loud? Why do I have to say it? Why am I the one that has to say the quiet things out loud? It's unbelievable. I mean, yeah, okay, yes. The answer is yes. Okay, you caught him. You caught him. Here's Senator Haggerty talking about Jack Smith, tracking his private communications. Cut 4.
Senator Haggerty.
Thank you, Senator Johnson. And Chairman Grassley, thank you for your leadership in making this happen. This is an extraordinary revelation that just took place this afternoon. My colleagues and I found out, all of us Republicans, by the way, that we were placed under investigation by this FBI, under the Joe Biden FBI that was led, I presume, by Jack Smith and his predecessors. This isn't the first time that it's happened, though. Senator Johnson just mentioned this. I served on the Trump transition team in Trump Tower in 2016. Senator Blackburn was vice chair of the transition committee then, as were probably a dozen or more members of Congress. To think that we were surveilled by the Obama FBI. This corruption runs deep, and it's gone on for far too long. And the fact that it's happened here again, the fact that they are looking at our records in 2023, sitting members of the United States Senate. Again, the only thing that we have in common, the only thing in common in this entire list is that we're all Republicans. They've decided to come after us. This is as partisan as it gets. The FBI and the corruption that's running there has to be cleared out. Thank God we have Cash Patel and Dan Bongino there. This has to be addressed. It has to be resolved. It needs to happen today. Thank you.
Yeah, anything but to get to the bottom of the election machines. Anything. I mean, why not? Let's just. I'm gonna send something to you guys real quick. The Kabuki theater is just overwhelming at times. All right, let's go to this next one if we would. This is Josh Hawley demanding criminal prosecutions after Jack Smith and the Biden FBI spied on and tracked the location of GOP senators post 2020. Couldn't play it. I'm talking about cut 5.
I believe also track our location over a period of days. This is outrageous. I mean, this is really unbelievable. It's blatantly unconstitutional. It's a violation of the First Amendment. It's a violation of the separation of powers. And it also goes to show you the extent to which the Biden administration was so corrupt, using the FBI to target their political enemies. And let's not forget, they didn't just do it to senators. They did it to school board parents who went and spoke up at those school board meetings. They did it to 92 conservative organizations, including Charlie Kirk's Turning Point USA. They tried to recruit spies into Catholic parishes. That's the kind of people we're dealing with here. Bill, we need a total investigation, a thorough investigation into everybody who was responsible, and I think there needs to be prosecutions.
Okay, so here's...
Again, I don't disagree with him, but you have to put those prosecutions in front of a federal judge who then is going to have who arrested exactly? Who are they going to have arrested? When you have institutional rot, look, I know firsthand that the education system is 100% on full throttle forward in persecuting and prosecuting kids that don't believe any of their nonsense. It really is sad. I just put this in the middle, and then I'm going to talk about Brylan Hollyhand, the guy that wants to be Charlie Kirk. We'll talk a little about that. Beforehand, somebody sent something to me that says, let me just read this. This is from Real Robert. He's I don't actually know who he is, but he says King Solomon reporting confirmed a foreign power interferes in the U.S. election on behalf of Hillary Clinton. Ukraine's Attorney General and court ruling in the Ukrainian embassy in Washington, D.C. all confirm the involvement. While Barack Obama was busy manufacturing an ICA report that tying Trump to Russia, not only did Ukraine, a foreign power, interfere in the 2016 presidential election on behalf of Hillary Clinton, but the Democratic National Committee, DNC, also asked Ukraine to help topple the United States government on her behalf, and the witch still lost. Okay, so let me just be really clear. I'm going to play this video for you, and then I'm going to give you my thought on what he said. Let's go ahead and play this 2-minute clip. John Solomon.
By a member of the Ukrainian parliament. Let's talk about the tape recording. Evidence.
Yeah, we don't know. Yeah, we don't know much about it because it's floating around Ukraine. But we do know the general prosecutor of Ukraine, our equivalent of the attorney general, came on our show this morning and said the following. There's enough evidence for me to open up a criminal investigation into the illicit effort by a Ukrainian to try to influence the United States election in favor of Hillary Clinton. Mm-hmm. That's a profound statement coming from the top law enforcement official of Ukraine. Why is it important? There's a court in Ukraine that's already concluded that Ukrainian officials leaked Paul Manafort's financial records to try to sway the U.S. election. You haven't heard anything about that in the American press, but that ruling occurred recently. Then a parliamentary member comes out and says, I have a tape of these law enforcement officials saying they did it specifically to help Hillary Clinton. That becomes the foundation of the Ukrainian investigation.
And you have talked to people that have heard this tape, correct?
Well, the prosecutor himself has heard the tape and said it was important enough, good enough evidence to warrant opening the investigation. So the tape, the court ruling, the top prosecutor in Ukraine says there was a foreign power.
Two separate issues here. Number one,
yes.
Did Ukrainian officials offered us evidence that, in fact, they were involved in election interference in 2016 to help Hillary Clinton's campaign? But I didn't see anybody in the media pursue the interference story, and I thought they cared about interference, but obviously only if it's Russian interference in Trump, because we know they don't care about the dirty Russian dossier.
That's right. Keep in mind that just a few months ago, Sean, we reported on your show and Inside the Hill that Ukraine's embassy in Washington confirmed on the record that back in 2016, the Democratic National Committee, trying to help Hillary Clinton get elected, asked the Ukraine embassy to help interfere in the election by doing two things: dig up dirt on Paul Manafort and have Ukraine's president make a kerfuffle here in Washington about Manafort and Trump when he came to visit. Now, the Ukrainians say they rebuffed that attempt, but Hillary Clinton's campaign, the DNC, made that request, according to the Ukraine embassy in Washington.
So what they're basically saying is Ukraine was involved in the 2016. They didn't have enough to overcome President Trump's popularity. So let me just help you understand how money gets pushed back and forth and who was responsible for it. In 2016, you'll notice that Dominion did not have any sort of firm grip on certain states. They made a play between 2016 and 2020 to infiltrate much of the swing states. On top of the infiltrating the swing states, they wanted to make sure that they had the proper things in place so that they could steal those elections. That leads up to 2020 election, where Eric Coomer, prior to that, did what Eric Coomer does, and then saying, hey, look, don't worry about it. Trump's not going to win. I made sure of it. Well, he couldn't make sure in 2016, and he couldn't make sure in 2017. See, I actually seem to think that Eric Coomer was actually the kingpin. I think he was the one behind all of it, and he hid as the director of strategy and security at Dominion Voting Systems, because I think he was directly responsible for how this is. Actually, I'm if I was a betting man, I would say that that's almost not just a probability, but a high probability. In other words, it's probably 100% the case. And you said, well, Joe, how do you know? Well, I don't know, because his doctorate thesis, his energy decay models, his controllers inside the election was directly tied and used in the elections with cash flow records. So no matter what happens, you can't run away from that. There's only one guy smart enough in all of this to do that, and that would have been Eric Coomer. And he bragged about it because he liked to brag a lot. We are in a place where they want to say it was foreign interference, but you needed people on the inside here that were willing to do the biddings of these people, and that is the radical left. And that's what you have. And so you asked me about Jack Smith. I don't give a crap about Jack Smith. If you want to topple the evil that we face in our country, you have to topple it from the roots. And the roots are, we have stolen elections, we have fraudulent elections, and we have people that committed sedition, committed treason that you have to deal with. And then you got to line them up with a firing squad, and you got to make sure you make a nice example out of them. That doesn't take going after Jack Smith. If you want to just peel off a few people that frankly are useful idiots, Jack Smith is a useful idiot. James Comey is a useful idiot. He's a part of the fraternity. He's not the guy. You're like picking off crumbs. If you want to do damage, you take out the things that do damage to the American people. And I just don't see the stomach yet. Although, again, we talked yesterday with Professor Clements. I think it might be coming. The more and more that I think about what President Trump is doing, I think the media is eating it up because they want President Trump to feel like we're all fighting for him. And while President Trump, I think, is fighting for the American people. That I do think is true. All right, let's quickly talk about this Brylan guy. I got to be a little bit funny, okay? I want you to hear what he said. This is the kid whose parents made money off of Section 8 housing. 19 years old. He's not articulate at all. He's not even smart. He is what you would say. I mean, when I say he's not even smart, look, I want young people to have a chance, a seat at the table, but I want them to have the ability to have an ethos that's not based off of what has been done for decades before, if not almost a century, where politics basically is dirty, and you get to be dirty and you just can explain away being unethical as it's just all about politics. But here is Brylan Hollyhand saying that he says that America should increase legal immigration and continue the melting pot experiment. I'm gonna tell you some information about melting pot here in a minute, but let's go ahead and play this.
You're saying you are we're continuing supporting legal immigrants in the country. I said the melting pot absolutely is something that we should continue to do.
So we should keep increasing the amount of legal immigrants.
Legal immigrants, yes, we're a melting pot. I absolutely support that.
So I'm sure you understand these groups vote overwhelmingly against American values. They vote for the Democratic Party. So surely that's the death of the Republican Party, right?
Yes, but we can't close our borders and have our nation where we don't accept anybody to come in. So I've been a very big proponent against...
Plenty of countries do that.
We can't just completely close our borders off and never allow somebody else to migrate into the country.
Why not?
Because that's how the country started, as a melting pot. Like, we welcome people in.
This country did not start as a melting pot. A term was invented in 1910 by Israel Zangwill.
So the people that came over from England didn't melt into America.
No, they started in America. They didn't melt in anything.
Okay. I've been very clear that I'm against illegal immigration coming into this country and plaguing our generation from not getting jobs, making our streets unsecure, and actually harming Americans' future. Because therefore there's no safe America and free America to grow up in.
Again, my question wasn't about illegal immigration, it's about legal immigration.
And I think we should support more people coming legally and not illegally.
Okay, I think we all understand what your position is. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you.
Okay, so he actually didn't even have any clue who Zangwill was. He has no idea. And it was from a 1908 play. And if you know anything about the melting pot and creating a melting pot and where it came from, it's not what the United States was meant to be. Much like you have, I'm gonna talk to you about something else that maybe many of you didn't know. I'm gonna play a little trick on you really quick. But Israel Zangwill is Jewish. He's a Bibi. He grew up in poverty but excelled academically. They created, what else happened around 1908? Anybody else know what happened in 1907? Anybody know anything about what happened in the early 1900s when in 1913 when we basically destroyed? I mean, you could, people have argued that the United States ceased to exist at that point. James Taylor had something to say about what he talked about with Brylan. He put this up, says increased legal immigration, ? How tone deaf is he? He absolutely does not represent Charlie or TPUSA. And he put up a post that talks about what Charlie Kirk said just 9 days before he was assassinated. America does not need more visas for people from India. Perhaps no form of legal migration has so displaced American workers than those from India. Enough already. We're full. Let's finally put our own people first. Laura Ingram says, don't forget about any trade deal with India would require us to give them more visas. I'd rather not pay them in visas and trade deficits. See Modi about the terms you can get from Z and G instead. The idea that this guy would represent anything related to Charlie Kirk is almost, it's nuts. But now let's look at where this guy's money comes from. Brylan Hollyhand received $694,000 from AIPAC. Which, remember, AIPAC does not register as it does say agate underneath them. This is who they want to have us replace. They want the Bibi Jews. Look, I believe everyone should have their own sovereignty. And right now we don't have that. We're basically a captured nation. So somebody put this up. I'm going to end it with this. This is Brylan with Bibi and Ben Shapiro. It's talking about how they manufactured this person. And then I'm quickly going to just tell you what I think about what happened to Charlie again. But let's play it.
Sir, it's ready. He will be our greatest ally in our fight to control the narrative.
They manufacture them at a young age. You can see where they start to groom people into positions of trust and authority where people want to see them as being the authority on anything. So I want to ask you all a question. And I'm going to go to comments right now so I can see it. Okay, you ready for this? Let's talk about the term CE. You know what the term CE is? CE. So let's talk about the term CE. Who knows what CE means? CE. Because I have to tell you, when I talk about how the education system has been infiltrated by people who literally are rewriting history on what truth and reality is, it's happening before our eyes. Anybody know what CE means? Yeah, Jeff, you got it. Current era. What does CE mean? Why is this so important to understand? And it is very important. So I asked the system this question. Look, I read a lot. I read a lot. When we talk about taking God out of everything and attacking Christians and make it a very secular, religiously just blank. When you talk about the traditional AD and you talk about the traditional BC dating systems, they got rid of those and changed them to what's called BCE and CE. And so I asked the question, why? And I had to ask several platforms why. And then I had to ask it why I'm 50 years old and I can't, if you were to ask me about this and somebody said 500 CE, I was like, wait a minute, hold on a second. I've seen that before. I didn't really understand the significance, but I knew it was BC. I was like, okay. So I didn't research it. And then all of a sudden I just started paying attention to it. And I was like, wait, how is it that you have BCE and CE? And then it hit me. If you wanted to strip the entire world, you wanted to strip it of God completely, you would basically remove God from just even the timing of history. And let me just tell you the three things that it told me when I went through and asked the question. So the primary reason for the change was to offer an alternative for non-Christians. Use the global dominant Gregorian calendar. Terms like Anno Domini, in the year of our Lord can be seen as biased or inappropriate by those of other faiths or no faith at all. Historical accuracy. The monk Dionysius Exiguus, who devised the AD system in 525 CE, made an error in his calculations of Jesus' birth year. But they're admitting that Jesus was born. Modern scholars estimate Jesus was born 4 years before 1 CE. Term of common era acknowledges that the year 1 is simply a convention rather than an objective historical milestone. Secularization of academia. The adoption of BCE and CE became more widely in the 20th century as fields of science and academia sought to standardize terminology in a way that was detached from specific religious viewpoints. Okay, let me explain something to you. If somebody came out and said that they made a mistake in Jesus' birth, then that means Jesus was born. And if we've used this historical system as a way to compare it against Jesus' birth, that means that Jesus was actually born. They're admitting it. If I change it to CE and BCE, you're basically saying that we're just removing Jesus from the equation altogether. And when you remove Jesus from the basic equation of time, then we know for a fact that this is the devil itself trying to strip the world of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. This just hit me today. I was going through it and going, this is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Yes, Chris, CE replaced AD just to eliminate Jesus. That is absolutely true. You wouldn't do it otherwise. You would not do any of this otherwise unless you were trying to take away and get to a place where you can strip our society of Jesus. Now it makes more sense when they're going after Christians ever. Now it makes more sense when you have Satanists and people that adhere to the Talmud. That I call them Bibi Jews. These aren't real. These are not faith-bearing men and women. These are demons. These are people that are self-proclaimed atheists. And here's what you know about an atheist. They think they're going to die and turn into wormwood. They are not ethical people. There's nothing ethical about an atheist. Nothing. Zero. They're demons. And if they give themselves to anything, they'll give themselves to anything that is self-gratifying, not what serves being a good person. I want you to think about that. So it wasn't until 2007 that they started moving towards a standardized BCE and CE designation in educational environments so that kids coming up would be able to eliminate Jesus, eliminate God from their forethought, from the things that they think about on a daily basis. They're literally removing God and removing Jesus completely from time. Amazing. Well, it's just something to think about because they're capturing. This is why I say that you can't negotiate with the ridiculous. You have to call the ridiculous what it is. But two things. One, invest in currencies as you can, incrementally as you can. Buy copper, buy silver, buy gold. You can buy palladium as well, but it's really expensive. Let me just tell you about the Facts Plus we put out for today. The DOJ's dirty spy game, Jack Smith's communist dragnet on GOP senators, is exposed. The American people are witnessing a grave assault on a republic's foundation where the Department of Justice, under the guise of impartiality, has morphed into a weaponized apparatus of surveillance and suppression. Jack Smith's Arctic Frost investigation, declassified by FBI Director Cash Patel, reveals a shocking abuse of power, the tracking of private communications calls and locations of nearly a dozen Republican senators, including Lindsey Graham, Marsha Blackburn, Ron Johnson, Josh Hawley, Cynthia Loomis, Bill Haggerty, Dan Sullivan, and Tom Tuberville, as well as Rep. Mike Kelly. This was no routine inquiry. It was a deliberate, secretive dragnet using court-ordered subpoenas to telecom providers, dissecting metadata tied to the 2020 election certification. Such tactics echo the repressive surveillance states of communist regimes, eroding the privacy and freedoms of elected officials who dare question the narrative. Congress must launch an immediate, comprehensive investigation into this overreach, exposing how the DOJ under Smith became a tool for political vendettas rather than justice. Accountability cannot wait. The perpetrators of this anti-American scheme must face the full weight of congressional scrutiny and legal consequences. Smith's probes costing taxpayers over $50 million. Culminated in indictments against President Trump that crumbled upon his reelection. Yet the collateral damage spying on GOP lawmakers remains a stain on our democracy, democratic republic. It's not a mere bureaucratic access. It's a calculated infiltration designed to silence opposition and consolidate unelected power, reminiscent of Soviet-era tactics that crushed free speech. I demand that Congress subpoena all relevant documents, haul Smith and his enablers before oversight committees, and pursue arrests if warranted. as called for by figures like former Rep. Matt Gaetz, failure to act signals complicity in the erosion of liberty, betray the Constitution you swore to uphold. The time for passive oversight is over. Act decisively to restore trust in our institutions and prevent further abuses. Enact reforms to curb grand jury secrecy in political cases, mandate transparency in surveillance operations, and dismantle the weaponized elements within our DOJ. Americans deserve a government that protects, not persecutes, its citizens and leaders. I urge you to lead this charge, sponsoring legislation for the special probe into Arctic frost and hold public hearings to air the truth. Our republic hangs in the balance. Be responsible to find whether we reclaim freedom or surrender to tyranny. I wait for swift action and a detailed reply. This is something we're sending to all the congressmen. You might want to get involved in that. You can go to untamednation.com and read the article on it. That's it. So let's pray us out. Yep. I have to tell you this. I'll address this right now while we can, just to make sure that you have it. I was asked the question on Tory Mars. Tory Mars. So Tory Mars, let me just, and you guys can cut this little piece because Tory Mars sent a post against Ryan Matta. And Ryan Matta went to Guatemala to get information based on the Save the Children, which was chaired by Jill Biden. So I went down there. Tory called me and said, "Hey, will you go down there? Will you meet with these guys?" And I said, "Yeah, and I'll do a show." So I went there, had to sit in a very, very hot room and took some testimony, took that information and took some information they gave me on stolen elections down there. And I turned it over to Congress. So I said, "Hey, I'm going to send all this stuff to you." So I did that. Now, the one thing that I've worked on quite a bit has been making sure that that information gets into the right hands and that those hands actually have the ability to kind of figure out what's happening with those children, right? Ryan Matta had a conversation. I can't remember if it was the person in Guatemala that asked for his information. I think someone else actually called him, and he went down and did a interview, gathered information, and he did an entire documentary on Save the Children. I thought it was great. My time is spent on technology, and my time is spent on elections and doing the right thing there. So Tori said that I stole her work and that I gave it to Ryan Matta, and then Ryan Matta ran and hurt Tori Mars' feelings because she didn't get credit for work that she said she did 2 weeks before we were there. And I think to myself, if you were there 2 weeks before me, then why did I go? Why was I there? So then I had to check and see if Tori Mars was actually in Guatemala 2 weeks before I was there. And of course, the answer to that question is no, she wasn't. But I didn't really care about that. What I cared about is that she attacked my character and said that I betrayed her. Okay, so let me just tell you something. I don't wake up every day thinking about who takes credit for what. I don't care. I care that kids don't get trafficked, and I care that the information that I was given found its way into a position that, frankly, got a lot of people inside of the embassy and USAID fired. So I know that that happened. I did my part. But because I have limited resources to handle things that I'm tied to, the fact that Ryan Matta ran out there and did all the things that he did, good for him. Good for him. Tori says, "I need you to connect me to Ryan Matta." I said, "Okay." So I did. And that was it. Until a couple of days ago. So a couple of days ago, it came out that somewhere along the line that I gave all of her stuff to Ryan Matta. What she knows is absolutely false. And I find myself now in what I can only be described as a high school drama club with a woman that hasn't been truthful ever. So if you're a Tory fan, God bless you. Be a Tory fan. Hang out with Tory. Do whatever you want to do. I personally don't care. But take shots at me. I'm in that place right now where I'm like, you know what? I'm going to make her pay. So she then sends me some long text, and I tell her that basically you're a fat liar. And you are a fat liar. And you could do whatever you want on social media. It's not real life. Okay? You can send mean girls, you can do whatever you want. I don't care. Because I'm laser focused on the things that matter. Not some person that used to pretend they were a doctor and then saying that they're the ones that uncovered everything, that are tied to people like Milli Vanilli and a bunch of other people that frankly are all ops. The only reason you would be attacking me right now is because you're a part of the same op, the CIA, whatever you want to call that deal, that tries to discredit and create chaos in the environment. And I didn't bite. So I just want you all to know. And then yesterday, I got this call that says, oh, she has 24,000 people watching this. So I just did a check real quick to see, where all the 24,000 people were coming from. It's all smoke and mirrors, right? It's all smoke and mirrors. I got work to do. I spend 2 hours on my show every day doing this. I stopped what I was doing, went down to Guatemala because it was right for the children in Guatemala and for the people of Guatemala. I did and here's the other thing I'll say. Ryan Matta's video is actually pretty good. It's really good. So you should watch it because the information in it will probably lead to someone getting in trouble for trafficking children down in Guatemala. And that should be what is important. But unfortunately, it's not to Tory Mars. What's important to her is that she gets credit for whatever she wants credit for. I didn't even watch her stupid little, whatever you want to call it, or whatever she wrote. I didn't watch any of it because why would I? It's retarded. And what she said is retarded. But it's also harmful because as a result of that, Tory Mars, a couple of either her, she probably just created these sock puppet accounts, sent death threats to me over Tory Mars's stuff. So then that leads me to go, okay, now it's my turn. So just answer your door next time, Tory. You'll see what I mean by that, right? And we'll let the courts work it out. But there are things that you can do to support people who are real people. Patrick Byrne, real person, doing real work. Support Tina Peters. It all started with this amicus brief deal. Why didn't you sign the amicus brief? I didn't know that Tory was working on anything. Why would I? She's not in my circle. Not in my circle. But it just doesn't stop. You have this mental midgetry that is designed to erode our basic common sense. And I'm out on it. I'm done with it. I'm gonna do stuff that I know can support you. I'm gonna do stuff that works on my deal, but I have no interest in the ridiculousness. Next, Joe will accuse you of being a Fed, Joe. Chris, yeah, probably. Who cares? It doesn't. Yeah, Susan Rice says, I don't like the things she said about David Clements. Yeah, she lied about David. And that's why, by the way, I wouldn't let her back on my show. I said, apologize to David Clements or you're out. It's really simple. And she didn't want to do that. I'm like, okay. Then you can't come on my show. It's really simple. I don't let people that go after my brother come on my show, right? Which should tell you everything you need to know about it. Now, I still, and between all that, still she said, hey, will you go down to Guatemala to help these children? I still did that. I did that because that's who I am. Yeah, I thought she was a twat waffle. That's good, Ultra Mega. I just don't care. I don't care. I don't really care if you like me or don't like me. I don't care. And I don't care if you think that, oh, it's not fair. She didn't get credit for it. I don't care. I didn't think twice about it. Because at the end of the day, it shouldn't be about who got credit for it. It should be how many children did we stop from being killed or raped or trafficked or what have you. That's what it should be about. But it's not with mental midgets. It's not. Yeah. I didn't sign the amicus either, even though it was on Tina's update. Maybe it works. 3,000 people signing an amicus brief. I don't know. I don't know if it works or not. I can't imagine it would. But I look at stuff like that Peter Tickton is doing, and I'm impressed by it. I'm impressed by it. I'm impressed by the fact that he has a pretty good grip of what's going on. But I am not interested in this, whatever you want to call it. So if you want to know what I think she's a fat liar. That's what I think she is. And I think that her words have consequences and someone should make her pay for it. So I will. Period. Other than that, I don't have anything else to say about it. Now let's pray, can we? Yeah, chaos coordinator. Doesn't that kind of check, right? Chaos coordinator. All right. Hit the up button on your way out on Rumble, if you would. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and more. All those fun stuff. I appreciate everybody's support. We're going to put out a new post on. I've now been cleared to finish my posts on Substack. So you can go over to Substack and check me out there. We've got some pretty cool stuff that's going to be happening and dropping over there as well. So check that out. Now with that said, let's go ahead and pray us out. Father God, thank you. And I know you shouldn't punch down, Father. You say that you shouldn't punch down. You should stay focused on what's in front of you and be grateful for the things you have in front of you. So Father, I want to say that I am grateful, very grateful for the blessings you've had in my life. I'm grateful for the things that you have bestowed upon me and my family and the things that you have given so many others around me. And I know I shouldn't punch down. I tried not to in my response. So Father, I just ask you to give me the patience to walk through this and to ignore these people. I don't even know what you want to call them. Bots, people, self-aggrandizing individuals. I don't know. I know that I want to stay laser focused, Father, on things that are important to you and the things that can push us to a place where we can restore you to our community. I didn't even notice the CE, BCE, AD, BC thing. And it bothers me. It bothers me because of the capturing that's happened in our country and in our world by faithless, just zealots. It makes me sad, Father. Father, I just ask you to put a special blessing over David Bear. I pray with everything that I have that you would give him back his life, that you would heal him miraculously 100%, and that the cancer would completely leave his body. I ask these things, Father, in the name of Jesus. I ask you, Father, to help those that are suffering right now that can't get a job, that they may have doors swung wide open, that you may comfort them in their life and give them a path to see. And for those, Father, that are just looking for some way to do better, I just ask you, Father, that you may clear their head completely and give them the ability to see clearly what's in front of them. Help us, Father, that we may stand together as one, be brothers and sisters that serve you and do the right thing, no matter who's watching. And Father, I just want to say thank you again for our guest, Vince. And I would ask you to bless him with the ability to reach into the hearts and minds of those around him, and that he may be able to help many people with his brilliant mind. I say these things humbly in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. All right. There you go. Yeah, I got my Substack. It's really good. Good job today, Jay Oltmann. The swear jar is feeling neglected. I am trying to get to a place where we don't swear. I really am. I'm trying to get to that place. I'm getting better and better every day. And you know what? I thought I was going to go nuts when I got attacked, but I didn't, which was really, really awesome. So anyway, go ahead and hit the share button, do all the things, become the, you know what to do, all that stuff. All right. Take care. God bless you. Talk to you soon.